Hello, hello. Frank, can you hear me? Make sure I'm good here. Let's see here. Let me get this stuff pulled up here. Good deal. Looks like it's just me and you here. So much shit going on today. Everybody's fucking slaughtering each other. Oh, candle. What's that for? I'm going to cover this the barge that got separated in the Ohio River. I'm going to get into playing this so I can get this done. Let's see. I'm going to start out with the press conference that was done on it. This was in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm just going to get right into it. It's just us. That's fine with me. I'm just going to get this out there.
Good afternoon. Joined this afternoon by Captain Heather Mattern, captain of the port for the Ohio River Valley System from the U.S. Coast Guard, Rob Blair, environmental scientist with the Kentucky Energy and Environmental Cabinet, and John Roberts, CEO of the Ingren Barge Company, along with representatives from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Louisville Emergency Management Agency, and Kentucky Emergency Management Services. Shortly after 2 a.m. yesterday morning, a vessel towing 11 barges made contact with a stationary structure at the entrance to the Portland Canal near the McAlpine locks and dams. As a result, 10 of the 11 barges broke loose, with 3 barges settling against the lower McAlpine Dam structure. As of just minutes ago, 2 barges remain settled against the lower McAlpine Dam structure along the Ohio River. Currently, crews are just removed one of those 3 barges and are actively working on site. Crews have been on site since daybreak, further assessing the damage and determining operational objectives for the next 12 to 24 hours. More than 80 air quality samples have been taken so far, and all tests to date show no evidence of hazards that would pose a health risk, though teams are continuously monitoring the situation. We are also taking water samples on a regular basis. Again, there's no evidence of any leaks at this time, and you'll hear more about this shortly. Our monitoring will remain firmly in place until the situation is fully resolved. The U.S. Coast Guard is investigating the incident. As we move forward, safety is our number one priority, the safety of the public and the safety of the first responding team. The cargo aboard the barges mostly carried corn, and one vessel with 3 independent cargo holds contained approximately 1,400 tons of methanol. The Kentucky Energy and Environment Cabinet will continue sampling the Ohio River downstream from the dam and will make the results public as they become available. So first, I'm going to turn it over to, on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Rob Blair, an environmental scientist with the Kentucky Energy and Environment Cabinet. Rob?
Good afternoon. The Kentucky Energy and Environment Cabinet is here in a supporting role relative to the environmental monitoring that is taking place and will continue to take place throughout this incident. until it is resolved. The initial monitoring was conducted by the Louisville Fire Department in the form of air monitoring on both sides of the river, upstream, downstream of the incident location. As the mayor stated, the results have shown no detection of methanol that would be dangerous to humans or the surrounding area. The water samples are being collected by the Energy and Environment Cabinet on a 3-mile stretch downstream of the incident location. We have 5 locations that we are sampling on a daily basis. Those samples are going to a private lab, and we are still waiting on the initial results. However, as we collect those samples, we are also taking in-field measurements for basic water quality parameters, and all of those have come back as normal. All of this monitoring will continue and be eventually transitioned to the private consultant representing the responsible party. But in the meantime, we will continue taking the lead on those. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. The barges were barges of Ingram Barge Company, and representatives from Ingram Barge Company have been on the scene here in Louisville since yesterday, shortly after this incident happened. And we are joined now by the CEO of Ingram Barge Company, John Roberts. John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate your support and leadership as we move through this incident. I'd like to thank all members of local, state, and federal agencies that are working with our incident command as we resolve this incident and get these barges pulled back out safely. I'd also like to thank all of the Ingram associates that are here and everyone that we've hired and brought in here to get this response done. You know, Ingram is a proud member of the Kentucky business community with over 400 associates residing in the Commonwealth. This is incredibly important to us, and I want to thank you, all members of the media, for being here. Transparency is key to us, and we do appreciate you being here and look forward to answering questions. We'd also like to emphasize that although we were not the operator when this occurred, those are our barges out there on that dam, and we are going to be responsible for getting them off in a safe manner. So we're committed to doing what it takes to make that right. We brought in world-class resources to help us in that effort, and we're going to continue to do so until we get the job completely done. I'd like to say that we've got 2 separate environmental response teams here and monitoring groups, both air and water. Reiterating what Mr. Mayor talked about with regard to 80 air samples that have proven negative thus far. We will continue to do that, and we will also continue to do water sampling along with the state. We've also brought in TT Salvage as a salvage company that is world leader in vessel recovery operations to help us resolve this as safely as we possibly can. It is our primary objective for the safety of this community and all of the citizens that live in this area, and also the personnel that are involved in the recovery operations. We're going to do this, and we're going to do it right, and we're going to make sure that we don't take a bad incident and make it worse. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, John. And also, as I mentioned, we've set up a unified command structure involving the Coast Guard, led by Captain Heather Mattern. She is the captain of the port for the Ohio Valley River System. Captain?
Good afternoon. I first want to say that we have restarted vessel traffic, and we do that with the restrictions in order to maintain safety in both the salvage and the salvage operations. I also wanted to highlight what can be inherent dangers of salvage operations, especially in the dynamic river environment. So this will take some time because we want to make sure that we're prioritizing safety for the community and our community that we live in, the workers that are working on the salvage operation, and also the environment. So please understand that that safety is absolutely our priority, and that will take some time to make sure that we do this right and to definitely minimize the impact. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Captain Mattern. We are now willing to take questions from the media. All of us are available for any questions you all might have. Can you speak up a little bit also, just with the... John, do you maybe want to describe a little bit about the question was about what was the thought process about how you approach clearing methanol out of the barge?
Yeah, thank you. If I understand correctly, you're asking what we think is the process of clearing the methanol barge at this time. The most important thing is the safety, and you've got some pretty high current right there. So we need the river levels to get to where we can potentially down beneath the dam so that we can maybe close some of the gates and build up a pool. We believe that the pressure of the current right now is what's pinning the barge against the dam. And at that point, it should refloat itself and then we can pull it out. That is the thought process at this time. It's just the conditions are unsafe right now to actively get out on the barge itself. So we do air monitoring and water sampling. We don't believe there's been any breaches at this time. There's been no evidence of any of that at all, and we will continue to do that.
What's your assessment of the damage that's been done to those two barges that are still there?
We'll have to further assess when we can actually get on the equipment. From all we see is what y'all have seen as well, as far as the video coverage. If you're asking the physical damage to the barges itself, we'll have to be able to get on them when we can safely to do so. Well, and I've got our salvage company here as well. Maybe that might be a more appropriate response from, if that would help.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Teichman with TNT Salvage. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
The question is, what's your assessment of the damage to those two barges that are still there? I don't know anything about barges, but it looks like it's definitely damaged, possibly breached.
Yes, sir. So the hopper barge is definitely, we can see where the side shell has been damaged in one of the double bottoms. The methanol barge, we're unable to see any damage on the stern part of it, but we have seen some damage on the double bottoms on it as well.
What does that mean for you in terms of recovering the barges?
Well, normally before we would lift a barge like this, we would remove the product. Right now it's just not safe to go on board. We're still seeing some minor changes. We just removed the 13925, one of the other hoppers. I don't know if y'all had talked about that. So we're able to possibly see a little bit more of what's going on with the methanol barge. But right now we're still in the early stages of planning. Like Captain said, number one priority is safety. We don't want to hurt anybody and we don't want to make the situation worse than it already is.
The last time we had barges stacked up on the dam, it took 4 months or so to get them removed. Are we looking at a similar rescue project?
It doesn't look like it's going to take that long. Obviously we've got to let the river drop. It depends on rain events and there's a lot of factors. It's really, I don't at this time, no, ma'am. I think probably it's hard to say right now. Liquid.
For safety reasons, when you start to remove the cargo, whenever you're able to do that, will precautionary evacuations be necessary?
We don't believe so.
Do we know a little more yet about what exactly?
I'm sorry, I'm really hard of hearing.
Sorry.
All the traffic.
This might be a better question for someone else, but do we know a little bit more about what led up to the incident that led to the barges coming?
So the Coast Guard is responsible for doing the investigation, and that's an ongoing investigation. So I cannot, speak on the details of that time because we need to go through that process. But the investigation process actually does two things. A, it gets to the root of why this happened, but then it also provides us information on if there's reasons or things that we can do in the future to possibly prevent it from happening in the future. So it's a process we take very seriously and one that just takes a little bit to make sure that we have the right factors and details.
To be clear, did you say that the river traffic has resumed?
Yes, we have resumed with restrictions. So we are kind of closely, it is high water anyway. So we have what we call a vessel traffic service that kind of monitors the traffic and talks to everyone who's going through that kind of very tight area during the high water anyways. And so we're closely monitoring it and then putting some restrictions on it so that we make sure that we maintain the safety of the salvage and the salvage operations.
Can you define those restrictions when you talk
Well, they change as the situation changes. Currently, we have people going northbound is pretty similar to normal, but going southbound, we get like a helper boat, which is an additional assistant to help kind of go through that narrow area. Similar to like when you're running down a hill, you kind of maintain and get a little bit faster. Well, that's when you're going with the current, it tends to get a little faster. So we have and the second vessel down there to help control that speed and that movement.
well, added insurance to make sure that they don't encroach upon.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what it all is because first of all, we have people who are working on that salvage right now, so we don't want to put any of their lives in danger, or we don't want to make the actual salvage worse. And so that is one of the reasons that we're being overly cautious to make sure that we minimize any impact on that.
What are the potential environmental risks of this methanol leaking out into the river, on aquatic habitat, and also for drinking water downstream?
You know what? I'm going to turn that over. We have an expert. Where did he go? Right here.
So can you repeat the question,
So
please?
what are the potential environmental impacts of a breach of this 1,400 tons of methanol? What are the potential aquatic impacts? What are the potential impacts of drinking water downriver?
Okay. So this is from our chemists as well as chemists that work for the firm hired by the responsible party. When we talk about the potential environmental impacts, if we had a catastrophic release, all of the fluid that is contained on that barge releasing all at once, we would have some of that would get dissolved into the water, but it is also very volatile. So we would have some of that essentially off gas into the atmosphere. That's why we're monitoring both the surface water as well as the air. Based on calculations and the dilution factors in the river, the current of the river, we estimate that within about 15 miles downstream, we would have enough off-gassing and dilution that it would no longer be a major concern. We would probably see some impacts to aquatic life. The only drinking water intakes that we have below us on the Ohio River are as far down as Henderson, which is about 200 miles downstream. On the other side of the river, you're talking about Evansville, and by then we wouldn't have any concerns with impacts to drinking water.
When you talk about aquatic impacts, you mean fish kills?
Yes, sir. Yes.
What does that mean in the 15 miles before it becomes diluted enough where it's not a factor? What happens in that 15 miles?
That's difficult to say. We probably would have some impacts to aquatic life. We may see a fish kill, but we also know that it will take some time for this chemical to break down in the water before we would actually have impacts to the aquatic life. So that would allow for more dilution factor as well as more time for it to volatilize to leave into the atmosphere.
Is the air going to be safe to breathe in that 15 miles in case of a catastrophic release?
We believe so. If that were to happen, the air monitoring as well as the water monitoring would be expanded greatly downstream. Orsenco, the Ohio River Valley Sanitation Commission, is also taking part in the monitoring. And so they would have active monitoring farther downstream as well. And so we would be keeping a close eye on that. But based on current status, we believe that it would be safe.
Any idea what the predominant direction is?
Right now,
Well, I know that it changes the Ohio River. I was just curious.
no, that would be maybe somebody, I don't even, probably Noah would be the best person to answer that question.
Thank you all very much. Again, just to conclude, all of that is, as you can tell, we are focused on safety. And so we are preparing for any possible result. We are focused on the safety of the public, on the safety of the first responders. As of right now, there is no evidence of any leaking. We will continue to monitor the air and water, continue to provide the results on a regular basis to you and the entire community with information as it becomes available. We thank you all very much for coming, and we will continue to stay in touch. Thank you all very much.
Okay, there's that. And I got a drone video here I want to show of it. Yeah, I know I was muted, dear. I was trying to get back over here. Okay, let's see. 1 second. I'm going to play this drone video. There's no audio on this. That river is nasty to begin with. It's a nasty fucking river, the Ohio River. Hey, Rosie. Yanni, if you're still here, love. They said they're going to wait for it to come to the top. How are they going to get it? I don't get it. Unless it's like fumes. You know how you can see like gas when it's on top or in water? It's crazy. And yeah, I'm glad they're stepping up and they're like, hey, we didn't do this, but this is our shit, you know, and we're going to take care of it. And yeah, they're like on it. Thank goodness. Go Kentucky. Woohoo. God, that's going to be crazy trying to get that out of there. Prayers for them, for real. Look how fast that water's rolling there. Looks like it's up to the river. Or maybe not. I see water lines there, but the barge is holding it back. So, of course, it's not full potential there. Yeah, it does look like it's up. See, I'm going to pull up where all this river runs. You know, it runs from Cincinnati, northern Kentucky area, down to Louisville here. Let's see if I can get a good picture of it here. Okay, here's a picture of it if you can see it. Okay, right here is, can you see my mouse on that? Where I'm doing it at? Let me see. I want to pull it up on my phone because I can't see what's going on here. Yeah, I don't know why it's not showing on here. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Let me make this bigger. Hold on. Okay, there's Kentucky. Right here is Cincinnati. You get down in here is where it collapsed at. Separate it. Down here is Louisville area. Then you go down here in this area on southern Kentucky, down by Fort Campbell, and there was a plane crash today or yesterday. I just seen a little bit on it. But all this blue area is where the Ohio River runs. It starts all the way up here. What is that? That's Pennsylvania. Starts in Pennsylvania, comes down. See, this is West Virginia, Ohio, Indiana, Missouri. Or no, that's Illinois, and Missouri's over here. Yeah, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky. Yeah, it's of KFC. You got Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi. But yeah, right in here is where it went off at. And up here is the Cincinnati area. Then down here is where the plane crash. Kentucky's just got a double dose lately. You can see Louisville in the background there. Frank, actually in Louisville, on some of the buildings, they have some famous people. And on one of the buildings, like they're in a row, like going down the interstate, and they have one of Colonel Sanders on it. In Louisville there, but let me go back to this map. See, like right in here in this area, Frank, down here on the Tennessee line, that's down in here is where KFC originated, down at the very southern part of Kentucky there. Yeah, let me see if I can find some stuff on that, Frank. We'll get a double dose here. This will be a Kentucky Live. Here is a might as well cover this too while I'm at it. I know I really don't even know nothing about this, so yeah, the state started there. I'm gonna let you have your moment. Yeah, it started down on the Tennessee line in Corbin, Kentucky. Okay. I'm going to stop this because there really isn't much more information right now about this barge. Let's see. Now this here is the chopper that went down by Fort Campbell.
Sergeant Major Knapp, who are currently deployed, and Command Sergeant Major Knapp, who are currently deployed to Southeast Europe, I would like to express our deepest sympathies to the families of our fallen soldiers. We are currently in the process of notifying their families. Until these notifications are complete, we are unable to provide specific details about our soldiers. We appreciate your patience and respect of the process, and we will provide additional details once all family members are notified. I would like to thank the first responders from Trigg County and the Kentucky State Police for the rapid and professional response and for their continued support. The Army has deployed an aircraft safety team from Fort Rucker, Alabama, who will arrive later today and will immediately initiate an investigation to help us understand what caused this crash in order to prevent accidents like this from happening again. This is a truly tragic loss for our families, our division, and Fort Campbell. And our number one priority is caring for the families and the soldiers within our Combat Aviation Brigade. Our entire Fort Campbell community is surging resources in support, and our thoughts and prayers are with these families and these soldiers during this difficult time. Ladies and gentlemen, Governor Beshear would like to deliver some short remarks.
Good morning. Today is a tough and a tragic day for Kentucky, for the Fort Campbell, and for the 101st. The 9 individuals we lost are children of God. They will be mourned and missed by their families, by their communities. We are blessed to live in the freest country in the history of planet Earth, but we must remember that that freedom relies on those who are willing to serve, some of which pay the ultimate price. We know a lot about loss in Kentucky, especially these last 3 years. We're going to do what we always do. We're going to wrap our arms around these families, and we're going to be there with them, not just for the days, but the weeks and the months and the years to come. We're going to let them know that they are loved, they are special. And if they'll allow us to carry some of their grief, we'll do that for as long as we can. My faith teaches me that while the body is mortal, the soul is eternal, and we will see them again. This morning, I talked to Governor Bill Lee, who expressed his grief for this loss and his similar commitment to these families. There are no state lines when it comes to taking care of these families and helping them with their grief. Finally, I also want to thank the first responders who came from the entire region. They're on the ground immediately after this incident, doing everything that they could. The first responders included the Kentucky State Police, Trigg County Emergency Management, Trigg and Christian County Sheriff's Offices, Trigg and Marshall County Rescue Squads, East Golden Pond and other Trigg County Fire Departments, Trigg County EMS, and the Christian County Emergency Management. Listen, here in Kentucky, and I know in Tennessee, we love Fort Campbell. We love all the people that live here and that work here. They are part of our community, of who we are. Their loss today is our loss. And we're going to stand with both those that are here today, and again, we're going to make sure that these families know that they are loved, that they are not alone. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm prepared to answer your questions. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. This was a training progression, and specifically they were flying a multi-ship formation, 2 ships under night vision goggles at night. Yes, sir.
Folks are familiar with the training exercises. Is it typical to have that many people on a helicopter? Was it 5 and 4? Or how many were on each helicopter? Is it typical to have that many on a helicopter in that sort of training exercise?
Yes, sir. It was 5 and 4, and that is fairly typical. There's a pilot, a co-pilot, a crew chief, and then often you'll have medics or other personnel on the aircraft as well. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Chaplain Lou, ABC News. Do you have any, or can you share some insight onto the conditions perhaps leading up to the crash, especially what caused the crash?
We have a safety team coming from Fort Rucker, Alabama, who specialize in aircraft safety and specifically these investigations. We hope to have them on the ground sometime later today, and they're bringing a very diverse and talented team that will look at every possible contributing factor. And I think in a short time, we will have a much better understanding of what may have contributed to this accident. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. They were all based at Fort Campbell in the 101st Airborne Division. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. They were a variant of the Black Hawk. In these specific aircraft were medical evacuation aircraft. However, we believe that they were the accident occurred when they were doing flying, not deliberate medical evacuation drills. Correct. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. At this point, we don't know. We're hopeful that when we get the team from Fort Rucker here and they're able to pull some of the data out of the onboard computers, that we'll have a better understanding of exactly what happened. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Despite our losses, we were lucky because they were able to land in an open field across from a residential area. So thankfully, there were no additional casualties or injuries as a result of the aircraft crash. Yes, sir.
Jerry with ABC out of Nashville. Are these helicopters you talked about getting data from them? Are they equipped with like a black box, like we hear passenger planes go down, or is it more just computer type instruments that you're looking at?
Yes, sir. They do have something very similar to the black boxes that we see on the larger aircraft, and we're hopeful that that will provide quite a bit of information of what occurred. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We started next of kin notification early this morning. We have some family members that are in the local area that we were able to contact fairly quickly, but we also have some family members across the United States and a few outside of the United States. So that process is ongoing. We're doing everything we can to notify families as quickly as we can, but I don't have a good estimation on when the final notifications will occur. Yes, ma'am. Sir.
Do you happen to have any sort of an estimate as to the rapid response time that's been talked about a lot? Is there an average time in which Fort Campbell and Trick County, Christian County ready to respond?
Yeah, I don't have an actual response time, but I will tell you that we know that they responded incredibly quickly and immediately established communication with our leadership here at Fort Campbell. And then jointly, we were able to secure that location and get the right folks there to start helping at the site. Yes, ma'am.
Were there any transports to medical facilities nearby or towards the home?
No, ma'am. There were no transports off the crash site. Yes, sir.
How was the post made aware of the crash? Were they being monitored by radar or radio communication, or was it people in the area that called 911?
Yes, we had other aircraft in the vicinity, so we were actually notified via multiple means. One was by the Trigg County first responders was one of the calls, and then we also had aircraft that were able to quickly move to that location and actually stayed overhead for quite some time.
We'll take some more questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Number 17 in Nashville. When, to your knowledge, or ever did something like this happen here at Fort Campbell during a training exercise?
That I will have to follow up with you. I'm not sure of the actual date of the last accident, especially to this extent, but I can follow up with you after this with an answer. Yes, ma'am.
Going forward, how will you take extra safety precautions to ensure that this doesn't happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. Everything we do, safety is integrated into this. And for context, when we do any training, but especially aviation training, they do very, very detailed planning, very detailed rehearsals. Depending on the risk of the operation they're doing has different levels of approval from the command. So we will always relook our safety precautions and our measures. But this was like all of these training events, safety is a primary focus for us. Thank you.
It looks like some sort of an escort. We do have an ambulance.
A long line of emergency vehicles lined the road not far from the crash site in southwestern Kentucky. The Army says two HH-60 Black Hawk helicopters collided in midair during a routine training exercise, killing 9 soldiers.
This is a truly tragic loss for our families, our division, and Fort Campbell. And our number one priority is caring for the families and the soldiers within our combat aviation brigade.
The accident occurred in the city of Cadiz, about 30 miles northwest of Fort Campbell. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear expressed his condolences.
The 9 individuals we lost are children of God. They will be mourned and missed by their families, by their communities.
The U.S. Army has used Black Hawk helicopters since the mid-1970s for military transport, assault missions, and evacuations.
These specific aircraft were medical evacuation aircraft. However, we believe that they were the accident occurred when they were doing flying, not deliberate medical evacuation drills.
Last month, 2 National Guard members were killed when their Black Hawk went down along an Alabama highway. The cause of that crash and last night's tragedy are both under investigation. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
We just watched the presser. Man, it's crazy. This is really sad. And it was medical helicopters at that. Frankie, he calls Kentucky KFC. He thinks it's a freaking state. He knows better, but he's been good today. He'll get a pass. He's always good. It's really about all that's out on either one of those right now. Hold on a second here. Okay, it's the presser again. We don't want to watch the press conference again. No. Okay, here's a Kentucky State Police update.
Burgess, first name Sarah, last name Burgess. I'm the Public Affairs Officer for Kentucky State Police Post 1.
So if you could talk a little bit about what happened here from when you guys got the call.
Kentucky State Police Post 1 received a report shortly before 10 p.m. on March 29th of an aircraft incident here in Trigg County. Troopers responded to the area and came across the wreckage of 2 military Blackhawks. We have been working in conjunction with the United States military to assess this scene. We continue to assess it as the morning comes.
And can you confirm the number of fatalities?
We cannot confirm any information as far as the crew or their condition at this time.
And where did they crash? Was it in a residential area or a wooded area?
The crash occurred in a field, some wooded area, but primarily a field area. At this time, there are no reports of resident damage.
All crew members killed?
We don't have any confirmation on the condition of the crew.
And residents in this area, what should they expect as far as going to work, road closures, all that stuff?
We do have a perimeter set up around the debris field. Residents need to leave. They can leave the area. If they find any debris, they can report that to Kentucky State Police Post 1 by calling our dispatch.
And next steps right now is the U.S. military coming here to conduct an investigation. Do you know who does that?
They are already here, and that'll all be relayed through Fort Campbell. Fort Campbell will be holding a press conference after daylight, and we won't have any further information until after that occurs.
Will the NTSB also be involved?
That'll be something you'll have to refer to them for. I can't confirm any other agency's involvement but our own.
Good. Good. Awesome.
Do
Great.
you know the altitude at all by chance?
I do not. You'll have to speak with the military side for that.
I had a neighbor tell me that right after the crash, another helicopter landed. Were they responding to that, do you think?
I can't confirm anything about the military operations. That'll have to go through Fort Campbell.
Was there a significant fire involved in this? Do you know?
I don't know. You can check with the fire department as their response. I do know that they responded, but I don't know what the response consisted of. There's no fire upon my arrival, but I can't confirm theirs.
The military is leading the investigation on that.
We're working jointly. We are working together from a state level and from the military level, because there's a lot of moving parts.
What does this mean to the residents of Kentucky to have this happen in their backyard?
I can't speak on behalf of the residents other than we are doing everything we can to assess this situation and make sure that our community is as safe as it can be. We are all working together, and I think that brings a good light to the agencies that are cooperating in this matter.
So let's go ahead and start right with the breaking news here. The two Black Hawk helicopters from Fort Campbell, they crashed last night. It's around 9:35, as we understand it. It's Trigg County, Kentucky, just to the south of Cadiz, over the state line from Tennessee.
And our crews have been up in Kentucky all morning long. State officials say multiple fatalities are expected.
Yep. So we go to Blake Easton. He joins us with what we know from the scene, near the scene.
Hey, good morning to you, Nikki and Neil. Yeah, tough news coming out of Fort Campbell this morning. Army officials confirmed that two Black Hawk helicopters crashed last night around 10 o'clock, and we're just now learning from the 101st Airborne Division that several people are dead. They shared this update just moments ago via their Twitter page, and Fort Campbell officials are also passing along that the crash happened during a routine training exercise when an incident occurred. Kentucky State Police are on the scene alongside military investigators and other agencies trying to pick up the pieces and determine what led to the crash. But right now they tell us details are limited.
I can't speak on behalf of the residents other than we are doing everything we can to assess this situation and make sure that our community is as safe as it can be. We are all working together, and I think that brings a good light to the agencies that are cooperating in this matter.
Now, Nikki and Neil, we did hear from a resident in this particular area that lives about 1 mile from the crash site, and he tells us that it's not unusual to see helicopters flying around in this particular area, but he remembers last night looking out a large window and seeing the helicopters flying back to back, really close together, and about 30 seconds later, he looks to his wife. They look outside and see a fireball explode in the sky, and that was when he rushed outside and called 911. Now, where we are right now, you can see right here behind us that law enforcement have a road blocked off leading to that crash site. And obviously details are extremely limited this morning, but we are expecting more information this morning at around 9 o'clock at a press conference. For now, we're live in Trigg County. Blake Easton, News 2.
We hear.
Yeah, that's horrible. Frank, he got indicted today, and it's not good because if you're running for president, you can't have any indictments or anything on your record. I think people set him up so he can't run for president again, in my opinion, allegedly. Yeah, it's not good. And I'm kind of pissed about it. I just seen that he did get indicted. Yeah. Over some confidential information. Okay, we can do that. We can cover it. Yeah, and I did hear, I was following this when it first started happening, and they said if a president gets indicted or anything like that, they can't run for presidency. Let me see if I can find some good information on it here. Let's see. Let's try this one. Yeah, I believe he was set up too, Frankie. Absolutely was set up. Because they said something about he set down a briefcase or a folder or something that had confidential files in it and something like that, or that's what they're indicting him on. I don't know the whole story, but it's something like that. Let me see if I can play this.
Breaking news coming out of Manhattan right now as we are learning information right now. I want to put up a tweet from our Fox News team from Marta Danis saying that Fox News has learned from two sources that Trump has been indicted by the Manhattan grand jury. Of course, this is major developing news here on Live Now from Fox as we continue to follow it. We do have a live picture outside of, I believe that's Trump Tower in downtown Manhattan. This is a live look right now is what we're keeping an eye on. Of course, this is a news that we were waiting on for some 2 weeks, as Trump said he would possibly be indicted a couple Tuesdays ago. It coming down most recently right now. That is the DA's office there in downtown Manhattan. I'm sure we'll get live pictures from Trump Tower, from the DA's office. I want to bring in a legal mind, a defense attorney here, Matt Tympanik, a friend of the program. Of course, Matt, we appreciate you joining us on very quick notice here with this latest development. Just give me a breakdown. What does it mean to have a grand jury indict someone, and what does it mean for them to indict a former president?
So to be able to indict someone, the grand jury would need to be given evidence that there is enough for the case to move forward. We're not to beyond a reasonable doubt. It's just probable cause that there is sufficient evidence to charge former President Trump with a crime. It hasn't been revealed yet what exactly it is, but the expectation it will be a felony. And if I were to guess, I think it's going to be falsifying business records. I think throughout the process, talk about the alleged hush payments to Stormy Daniels and what has been reported. I think that's what that would be the charge. I don't see much more else unless there are other facts that we have not been privy to at this time.
Definitely, and it is certainly major news coming out, and secrecy is kind of what we've talked about with a grand jury, that we don't know a ton of information from the grand jury, and obviously Trump sending out on social media that he expected to be indicted. How much hush-hush is it? And obviously this coming at a moment that a lot of people didn't expect, because a lot of people thought it was going to be pushed until mid-April, now coming down right now. Maybe talk a little bit about the secrecy of a grand jury and how they go about business.
Well, usually grand jury proceedings are secret by design, because you don't, obviously, if somebody's being investigated and they're not charged, you don't want all the publicity of, all right, they're being investigated for a major serious crime and then they don't get indicted. Based on what is being reported, he has been indicted. And a part of me thought when I heard, oh, they were going to take a break and it's not going to be for another month, I definitely think that was to throw the kind of the press off the trail and kind of allow them to finish the proceedings, because this is going to be a hot button issue. It's going to be the news story on every news outlet, 6 o'clock in the A block throughout the world tonight. So yeah, that's definitely something you wanted to make sure that you had cold and was actually done before you allowed it to leak.
It is certainly very interesting, because obviously the first president ever indicted here, potentially, as we could see him arrested. We heard that on social media. Of course, the indictments, you mentioned maybe not beyond a reasonable doubt when a criminal case moves forward, that they have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. Give me a little bit more background on that. Just maybe how much information do they need, and what is the reasonable doubt in this case?
So to a grand juries can hear things that trial juries cannot. Grand juries can hear hearsay. Hearsay is usually inadmissible in court. It's evidence that is offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. Usually somebody said something to somebody else or some kind of document that's not authenticated. A grand jury can hear that. A trial jury not necessarily would hear it. It could be suppressed or eliminated out. So what a grand jury can hear and what a trial jury can hear aren't always the same thing.
It is a very, very interesting, and I know we continue to get the ball rolling. There's going to be a lot of questions about what's going forward and but how quickly can arraignment happen? How quickly can something like this happen, especially with such high profiles? That takes some time. How much timeline do you foresee here?
I definitely think, well, it's obviously come out, but they haven't unsealed the indictment yet, so it's not officially, but based on what is being reported throughout the country, it's happening. But it could be about when the former president wants to surrender. I don't think you're going to see him being taken away in handcuffs, but what I definitely see is he might choose to be arraigned tomorrow when less people are watching. But at most, I would say within the next week, I think President Trump will be formally arraigned as a result of the indictment. Yeah, that will be something certainly to watch. Will it have to be in Florida? Will they kind of move him up to New York? How does that work as well? Well, he has to go to New York because he's going to have to be fingerprinted. He's going to be booked like any other defendant. I definitely think that the Secret Service is going to have to talk with the local law enforcement to detail a surrender, because there's no precedent for this. No former president that I can remember in modern history has ever been indicted for anything. And be able to do this is going to be a logistical nightmare. But if you're thinking he's going to get some kind of preferential treatment, he's appearing via Zoom, that's not going to happen. He's going to have a prearranged bail. He's going to walk in, get fingerprinted, photographed, and then he's going to walk out a few hours later with probably a low monetary bond, if not supervised release. They might force him to turn over his passport. They're going to argue he's not really a flight risk. It's not like he can go anywhere in the world where he wouldn't be recognized. So I definitely think that there's not going to be any preferential treatment, and he's definitely going to have to go to New York to answer for these. All right. Thank you. Matt Timpanek here, a criminal defense attorney. We appreciate you joining us here on very, very short notice. Obviously, a story that a lot of people are going to be following. So we appreciate your time. We're going to continue to cover this major story. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right.
This is CNN.
Yeah, he is different. Trump's like one of us, for real. He's not about the bullshit. He's about exposing fucking the media, and I want to know the whole story, because I know the Stormy Daniels. I heard about that name, and about the confidential papers he had. Let me see if I can find something. Should have stayed on top of this because Trump's my man. Okay, here's I wish I'd saved where I heard all that, like they can't run for presidency or something, and something, I don't know. But I guess we'll see through this if money talks for Trump, you know, because Trump's about the truth. He's about us. He's about the fucking Americans, you know. Trump had visited Epstein Island, Frank. I do know that. He was on the guest list stuff. But he's came out and claimed he didn't have no part of all the nasty shit that went on there. Yeah, I've heard that before. I don't know what she said, but
Trump is innocent. A grand jury indictment for Donald Trump's alleged role in a hush money payment to a porn star would kick off a process in which the former president would likely travel to Manhattan to face charges. Trump has denied wrongdoing in the case, saying,
see, I don't know where I heard about the confidential papers. And this hush money shit. People only do it because they're famous. She's probably doing it. Somebody probably paid her to do it to fucking fuck Trump, in my opinion.
saying the probe by the office of the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, a Democrat, is politically motivated.
It's an absolute disgrace what's going on.
We typically know how an arrest happens, where it happens, and exactly how a defendant will get from the arrest to the arraignment. But this is a totally untypical situation.
Here's a look at the key locations where Trump could be indicted, arrested, and arraigned. Since late January, a grand jury has been hearing testimony from witnesses in the Louis J. Lefkowitz State Office Building at 80 Center Street.
These witnesses have been people who can talk about Trump's role in the hush money payment to Stormy Daniels.
Hi, everyone.
Ashley, I absolutely agree. And Ashley, I don't know if you've seen my messages to you before, but I know you in real life. I'm not going to say who I am on here, but you know me. And it's really good to see you. All right, we're going to play this.
Witnesses have included Michael Cohen, who was Trump's personal lawyer at the time and played a key role in the payment and reimbursement.
If jurors here vote to indict Trump, an arrest warrant would then be filed under seal.
Ashley, on here, I just made comments on here. Do you still have Facebook? I can message you on there on my account. We were friends on there. You'll be like, oh shit. Let me see. How can I give you a hint? I don't know. I don't want to put it on here because I don't want to put me or you out there like that because you know how these motherfuckers on here are. Pretty sure it's you. You got a twin sister, right? I would love to catch up with you. Okay, let me see if I can find you on there. I deactivate my Facebook, so. Yeah, I do know you. I seen your picture, and you used to have your last name on here. I was like, oh shit, I know her. I know her in real life. We're both from Kentucky. Yeah, I'll message you.
Seal. Prosecutors would notify Trump's lawyers of the indictment and negotiate a time and date for his surrender.
Here in Manhattan, that's a common practice to negotiate a surrender date with a defendant. The timeline here is really unknown. Sometimes defendants appear the day after an indictment is filed with the judge, and sometimes it could really be several days or a week.
A defendant who is allowed to surrender typically reports to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office at 1 Hogan Place during an agreed upon date and time.
It is typical for someone who commits an alleged white collar crime to be handcuffed. I remember we saw that with Alan Weisselberg, who was the former Trump Organization CFO. But with Trump, that's something we really don't know how that's going to play out.
If Trump were to surrender and be arrested, he would likely have his fingerprints scanned and his photograph taken for a mugshot here. After being processed, defendants are typically taken to a holding cell in the Manhattan Criminal Courthouse, which is connected to the District Attorney's Office, but it has its own entrances on Center Street. Protests in the area around the courthouse in recent days have sparked security concerns.
Secret Service is totally focused on keeping the president safe, but there's also a lot of security concerns in terms of keeping Alvin Bragg, the district attorney, safe.
Secret Service agents would be with him throughout the booking process and would likely turn the courthouse into a protective zone and bring Trump through a secure access point.
His safety is their top priority.
During a court appearance, a judge would ask Trump to enter a plea to the charges in the indictment.
Prosecutors and defense attorneys could also talk about ministerial matters, which include setting a date for the next court appearance and exchanging evidence. After that, he would exit the building and presumably get back on his plane and could be home in Florida for dinner.
All this shit's crazy. Ashley, I sent it. It might go to your spam or message request or whatever because I'm not on Facebook no more. I just have Messenger. But you'll be like, oh shit. I'm waiting for you to check it. Oh, Frank, stop it. Okay, that's about it. I'm going to dig some more into this Trump stuff for sure because I only caught a little glimpse of it in this. It's kind of iffy talking about Trump. People are just... I agree, Frankie. They are going to do everything they can because they know this round he'll win. Because if he gets to run and this don't fuck him up, there's no way he's going to take a chance of losing 2 times in a row like that. And they know that. It's a mess. Oh, here I am waiting for Ashley to check her messages. It is good to see someone that you know in real life. You know that's a good person and stuff. Me and Ashley go way back. But that's about it for today on this. I'll be going live later on my backup channel just for some chit chat and chill and all that and have some fun. I like to keep these lives a little short, and I don't want to do just chit chat on my lives that have something important going on, you know. Frankie, you and Frank. But I will see you all later tonight. Come over on my backup channel. Frank, can you drop that link? You gonna be like him? Gonna be my female version, Frank. All right. Well, I'll see you all later. Have a good evening and thank you.